welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Christina DiStefano. I thought today, because I'm feeling like wanting to be a little chill, I thought we could just hang out and go over some of my favorite images that I found on Pinterest that are neutral but not boring. Because I feel like, in the late, 2018, 2019, 2020, and a few years after that, we saw this huge trend in just all white, all beige, all super neutral interiors. And I think the psychology behind that was just because of COVID and everything that was happening, we really wanted, or we realized that our home needed to be a little bit more of a retreat. We spent more time at home. And so we realized that our home needs to be a little more calming, a little more soothing. And I think that with all the insanity of 2020, we just kind of leaned toward neutrals, because neutrals are very serene, they're very calming. We find neutrals, and when I say neutrals, I mean the traditional neutrals like white, creams, beige, brown, gray, blacks. I like stone colors, like sea stone colors, things like that, things that are in kind of those shades found in nature can have a psychological effect on us to where they just make us feel a little more calm, a little more serene, definitely a feeling of serenity, for sure. Can definitely feel a bit zen as well. And so we were all in that mode. We were feeling that way. When I say we all, I feel like the trend, people were thinking in the same way. And so the trend took off like crazy. Here we are now, 5 years later in 2025, and we're over that just really kind of boring, neutral space that just really lacks personality. It's just so toned down. And we want something more, and we want to express our personalities more, and we want to embrace our eclectic side more. So with that being said, those of us like myself who really love neutrals, our home is pretty much those neutrals that I mentioned to you earlier, colors that you could find in nature, but also very toned down, very soothing, creams, whites, browns, blacks, beige, a little bit of warm wood and things like that. So living in a space that is predominantly neutral or is neutral, how do you create something that still maintains visual interest, that is interesting, that has personality? And so today I want to address the neutral eclectic and how you can actually accomplish that. Because a lot of the neutral interiors that I see on social media, they fall into two buckets or baskets since we're at home. Two baskets. The neutral that is just kind of the basic generic neutral that we've all seen so much. You know what I'm talking about. We see a lot of that same thing on repeat over and over again, and it's a bit numbing, especially to me, I'm looking at these home images to get inspiration. When I see something like that, it's just I don't know, my eyes just glaze over. I feel hungry for something that's much more interesting, something that has much more personality, but that part of myself that likes that serene, neutral environment is how do we put the two together? So then we have the other basket, and the other basket is where they actually accomplish this marriage of neutrals plus eclectic style that is interesting, that has character, and that has some kind of personality to it. So I've pulled some images. I didn't pull a lot because I want to take time with each one of these images. And typically when I do these videos with you, I pull 100 images, and then my video ends up being an hour long, and it's just insane. And I would not, I don't even know. Maybe you'd want to watch an hour-long video. I don't know. But anyway, let's jump into it and get started. But before I do, I just want to say welcome. If you're a new viewer, please, if you have a moment and you like this video, please subscribe. And also please like and share the video. And one more update, just really quick. Next week, I have a big surprise for you. I'm going to reveal a clue to you at some point in this video as to what the surprise is. So look for the clue, and I'll see you, well, let's jump in. All right, so I don't want to put my tea down. I want to keep sipping on it. So get your tea. Let's go through some images. It'll be a fun little fun little adventure, you know, a fun little conversation on interior design. A lot of vignettes, a lot of things. Okay, so I'm gonna start off with this first image. What I like about this is this could be, if it wasn't for the table, the interesting stool, and this chair, and then the scale in this space, I think that this could be kind of an ordinary space. You've seen these spaces where you have a wood table, you have a wood stool and a wood chair, and then you have some kind of green arrangement on top. We've seen that. That can be very boring. But this, on the other hand, what makes it so interesting is the organicness and the irregularities, that's hard for me to say, of the chair. So you've got like this chair that looks like maybe you went in the back and chopped down a tree and you like decided to put a chair together, which I'm going to do that. That's on my bucket list of stuff to do around here. But this chair is really cool because it's unique, it's interesting. It's not like a typical chair that you would see. You can find things like this on Facebook Marketplace. I think you could probably go to some local craft fairs and stuff like that, and you could find people making wood furniture. I also really like this little stool that looks like it's been around for 100 years. Maybe it is new, maybe it is actually really that old, maybe it's an antique. It reminds me of the little stools that people sit on when they milk cows. But okay, so you bring all that together and then you bring the detail of the pedestal table. And so you combine all of that and it looks really interesting. And then some interesting objects on the table of various sizes. So that's the other thing. You need to mix up the scale. So the scale with this first piece, you've got these branches that are huge. So you've got it's almost like a triangle design. So you've got the stools, the table, and then you've got this huge piece of greenery to kind of balance out the scale, which I think makes this much more interesting because you're playing with scale here. It's not just all small objects on the table. The next image is also kind of like this. So it's very neutral, but what I like is you have several small objects that are like little moments, little curiosities, little things that pull you in. And then you've got some interesting art that is different. It's not the generic printed off kind of antique looking artworks. Like, I don't know, it's like kind of, do you know what I'm talking about? Let me just put an image of what I'm talking about. So it's not like that has become so generic now. So this is actually a really interesting piece. But then I like the way that they've mixed it with all these different textures, the texture of the fireplace, the texture of the vessels, that white vessel, and I just want to like touch that. They've got some beautiful art books. Everything is very neutral. They've got a beautiful vintage or antique mirror. But then I like this play with this modern minimal lamp on top of the books, and even the cord, the way it dangles down. So I think that if I walked into a room and I saw that, I would want to go and inspect that. I would want to check that out. The next one, contrast. So the last image too was also playing with contrast because there was so much white, but they were incorporating a lot of black, so the colors were in high contrast. This one is a little more toned down because the walls are a sort of taupey brown tone, but you have the contrast of the black pedestal table and then the black painted like heater register there on the side, as well as the contrast of the light fixture. So it's like, again, it's kind of like a triangle. So I think about this with photography, you kind of use a triangle situation, like when you're planning or you're framing the photo and you want a good composition. It's the same with painting. It's also the same with interior design. So you're looking at moments of this sort of triangular composition. And if you think about it like the triangle, then you can think about it like your eyes are moving from one point to another and everything is balanced. This is another one. Okay, so what I like about this, even though this painting looks a little bit like those Etsy printouts that I was talking about, but it's probably a real painting. But what I like about this is the unexpected. So to pull off neutral eclectic and to actually keep it interesting, to be an interesting neutral interior, is you've got to throw in things that are unexpected. For what I'm talking about, perfect example here is this marble cube that I see on the floor. That is unexpected. It's like a sculpture mixed in with like very vintage pieces. So you've got the antique piece that looks like a head or a bust from a sculpture that's just like lying on this really cool organic shaped black, it could be wood or it could be like a resin bench. I'm not really sure. It's probably wood. And then an antique candelabra. And then you've got like whatever's going on in the background in that back room. It's dark. So there's that element of contrast here, and then also that element of the unexpected. Because while this home is probably an older home that has been freshly painted and beautifully painted in all neutrals, you've got those modern elements that are just completely unexpected. You've got that art. That's the great thing about art, is art gives you that opportunity to inject something that is unique and unexpected. So I think that's a really good formula if you have a neutral home, is to inject some artwork that is like really heavy in terms of like visual weight. And that, like this painting I have in the background, that I painted these two to put into this room to add a little more weight to this space because it was so neutral. And we just had the black marble coffee table. So I wanted to inject some additional weight throughout the space that would balance out this table and move the eye around, rather than like when you scan a room and your eyes just completely miss everything because everything just blends in. It's just too neutral. Here's another image where they're playing with scale, and I think that's a great way to handle a neutral room, is to play with scale, because it's unexpected. So you've got this wood table, which looks very thin and airy, and then you've got a very dense, I imagine this is probably paper mache, because this table doesn't look like it'd be strong enough to hold like a really dense stone bowl like what you see here. I think it's probably a paper mache bowl with some dried hydrangeas inside, something that would still be light, but visually it carries a lot of weight. I also like this, I'm not really sure, it's hard to tell in this image, but to me it looks like a sculpture. It kind of resembles a plate, but it looks like a sculpture on a wall, a black circular sculpture put onto the wall. And so it's kind of playing with that shape too. It's playing with that shape of the paper mache bowl, playing with the curves of the airy table. And then you've got that just really strong black circular sculpture on the wall. I like this one because this one is playing with scale also, but instead of going big, they're going small. So they're really bringing your eye in. They're really triggering or igniting that sense of curiosity at you. So when you look at this tall, grand, like beautiful hallway with really beautiful architectural details, you see this interesting and intricate wood chair, followed by a small piece of art above. So they're playing with the emptiness of the room, and they're bringing you in. They're almost like enticing you to walk forward in that hallway and check out what's on the wall and check out the chair. And I think this is done really well for something that's really neutral, really toned down. I like this. This would be something I would incorporate in design. Another like just light, airy, neutral space, but they've got pieces with a lot of personality, with a lot of texture, very tactile pieces. The wood on this bench, it looks like it's made from a piece, like a log that's been like hand carved. You could see the detail of that. You can also see the tactile feeling of this big sort of floor jug. And also this wall sculpture is really interesting because this is unexpected. This is like a very modern art, very high contrast black piece that they've placed on the walls. You know, Eclectic is taking the best of different things, like taking the things that you like from different styles and then bringing them together, like not like a marriage, but like a family. Like this is like a family that speaks the same language in a way. They work together, they mesh together really well, but they're all so different. I also like this piece of artwork that also, it kind of mirrors the sculpture on the wall. That print or painting or drawing, it's hard to tell just looking at the image. But anyway, that art mirrors the sculpture. So if you see what I mean, like that's kind of fun to play with too. When you're taking a shape, like we saw before with the paper mache bowl and the hydrangeas and the circular sculpture on the wall, but you're taking a shape and you're repeating that shape, or you're repeating that pattern, but in a different interpretation of that. That creates visual interest, and that is a way to inject curiosity and character and personality into your space. This is also toned down and more minimal, but you have a piece of art that's different. It's not the typical nude that we've seen, those line drawings of the nudes. You've got branches, you've got interesting vessels, a small wonder. If you've watched my vignettes video, or I think it was like how to decorate. Yes, I'll include the link. It's how to decorate on a dime or little to no money, something like that. I'm the worst at remembering the titles of my videos. I know it's so bad, but I don't go back and look at my library too often. So, but you inject a small wonder. And I think whenever you're creating a vignette, a small wonder is really important. You want to play with scale, so you have things of different sizes. And keep in mind, here we go, there's another triangle here, but you're playing with scale because scale makes your eye move around. It changes the visual weight of things too. And they've done a great job here because they've got things nicely spaced. I probably would have had more books here, but you know, I love books, I'm a book hoarder. But I like the way that everything is like airy, but yet very interesting, very textural, very tactile, brings you in, and it inspires curiosity to whomever is in that room. So I find it really inspiring. This is another with an antique table. Again, very neutral. This is a very, like a rug that you see a lot, one of those antique Persian rugs, but they've got a little small wonder on the table, a little sculptural figurine of sorts, a couple vessels. They've got a pedestal with a vessel in the back. We've seen these things before, but the way that they bring these together, the scale is what makes it interesting, because the scale is not what you're expecting to see. So when we see these like regurgitated copy paste sort of interior images of these neutrals where they have these old vessels, they have linen curtains, they have neutral color palette, like it looks very much like everything we've seen over and over and over again. But what makes it fresh, what makes it interesting is the scale. The scale of this table, the scale of this big jug vessel, the branches, like when you see it, it's unexpected. So don't forget about scale, because scale is a really easy way to have fun with your interiors. Here's another one. Okay, what I like about this one, so they're playing with the scale, with the branches, of course. You know, wood table, a very, you know, just vintage looking vessels. But what I like about this, instead of seeing the typical ordinary mirror on the wall, they've got an antique mirror with a really antique weathered frame. And I think when you see things that are really weathered, they're exciting that tactile feel, that sort of like part of your mind that wants to be like the investigator and go look at it closer. And that's what I see when I see this. I'm like, oh, I want to go closer. Like, I wish I could go into this image and check out this mirror a little bit more. And also this table looks really cool, though we can't see all of it, but I would want to check out the intricate carvings. Another example of scale. So we've seen pieces like this before, and we've seen them in spaces like this before. But what makes this interesting to me is that you've got this table that's really large scale with this vessel on top. It's just really simple, it's really minimal. But because they're playing with the scale of all these pieces and the placement of these pieces, so they're kind of airy. They don't look too pretentious. They don't look too thought out. But I feel like whoever put these pieces in here, like if that were me, I would move the pieces. Like I could see myself putting this chair here, putting this vessel here, putting this here, stepping back, looking at it. Okay, does this look interesting or does this look safe? And I think they've gone the like interesting route versus the safe route, because they could have rearranged like some of the stuff on the walls. They could have gotten a smaller stool. They could have put a regular table there, but I think they were willing to be a little adventurous. Maybe this is all they had, and it pushed their creativity out. That's the thing. Again, I say this over and over again to you. The challenges push your creativity out. The challenges inspire the creativity out. So play with those design challenges. Play with those design obstacles. Play with those limitations, be it limitations in what you actually have right now or the space you're in right now. Make it work. Use that creativity. Allow that challenge to channel your creativity, to pull that creativity out. That's how it happens. It doesn't happen with an unlimited budget. It's harder to have an unlimited budget and create something truly unique, to me, this is my opinion, than it is to have your limitations and then create something from that. I feel like I like the limitation because the limitation is what I need to feel truly inspired. Okay, this room, I just really liked this room. I feel like they were limited on where they could place the art because they have such great windows, and these windows are framed really nicely and they have beautiful greenery outside. But I like the way that they've placed the artwork. One is on like a little easel, the other one is on a table, like resting on a table. But here's the thing about what's resting on the table that I want to point out. A lot of people will rest artwork on a table rather than hanging it. And I do like that look. That is interesting to me. But what you need to do, like for this particular situation, they have something already going on above them. So that's limiting them. And then that's why that piece works on that table. And then that lamp is nice and heavy. And then you've got the plant too. So everything is kind of like, you know, in this same zone because the windows above are limiting them to the space. If this were just one really, let's just pretend like the windows were not there and it was set up like this, I would say you need a taller tree. Okay, let's pretend the windows aren't there. You would need a taller tree. And if you're going to have a table like that, then I would put a taller piece on the table. And then you could put a smaller piece, and then you could have like that shorter lamp. But think in terms of a triangle. Because we don't have the extra wall space, because we're limited by those windows, I think this was pulled off nicely. But I also really like the contrast of the black in this room, and I think that is really nice because it provides a lot of weight. So while it's still neutral, I think that the weight of the dark tones help to keep this from feeling too cold. Because I feel like a lot of times with neutrals, it can feel really cold, but there's a lot of warmth here. There's a lot of darkness, which to me, when I think of dark, like I like the dark paintings, I like our dark cabinet, our dark coffee table. To me, black to me makes me feel like there's a little bit of something hidden, a little mystery, a little moody. Maybe that's it. And so when I see the black mixed in with that, I feel like it offers a nice weight. It offers a nice balance. It also plays with the darkness of the ceiling above. So I like the way that these pieces play together. This one I love. I just think this is so cool and so eclectic. The chair, okay, first of all, I love the mirror and behind the chair because the image is great. The photo is so great because I'm so curious about what's going on, like on the other side of this room. But let's talk about what is in this frame and then what is reflected in the mirror. So in this frame, I love the neutral colors of the rug, but the pattern is what makes it really interesting because it's not your typical rug. Also, this room has a more worldly feel, a more well-traveled feel, which is also one of my favorite things when it comes to eclectic design is injecting pieces from the world and from other time periods. So those are the two things that I really love about eclectic style. The chair also has it's so cool. It has such intricate detail in the wood. Then you've got the small table, the black table beside it, which has kind of an African vibe as well. And then in the reflection, you see this really cool sculpture in the back. I'm not sure what that's made out of, but if I were to just let my imagination run wild, I would imagine it could be like dried tropical leaves, like woven, or it could be pieces of leather woven in the way that it's like kind of thrown up on the wall and tacked up onto the wall. I also really like this circular table in the center. It looks like something from outside in the garden with this beautiful tree on top. It kind of reminds me of a bonsai tree in a way. And then of course you've got some beautiful shades in the back. I can't really see that chair that's in the reflection, but I love this image. There's so much visual interest in this, so much playing with like moving your eyes around, and yet it's still neutral. You know, when we inject things that spark our curiosity, spark our interest, like, you know, we can sit back. I love to sit here and just look at this little eclectic gallery wall, and it's all neutral, but I love to just sit here and look at our view of the pond and the trees, and also just like glance over at this wall. And it's things to just meditate on, if anything. Things to, while you're in this serene, neutral, calm space, you also have things to just meditate on. Meditate on the shape of things. Meditate on the tactile feel of things. Meditate on the little like ridges of, I don't know what this is, but I bought it at the thrift store. It's like, we use it as a coaster, but meditate on the design of that. And that's what this is all about. It's like taking these neutral spaces and injecting things that give you something to meditate on, that pulls you off your phone and just puts you in the present moment in your space. I think that's really important. I am really bad about being on my phone. I work on my phone. I do tons of stuff on my phone. I edit my videos on the phone. I do everything on my phone. I think my screen time is about 8 hours a day, if not more. I'm on my phone a lot. So if I can get an opportunity to like spark my interest and look at a vessel, look at something in my home, and that brings me into the present moment. And I think that's really important in your home, is being fully present as much as possible, because there's so many things out there just vying for your attention. So with that being said, thank you for watching this video and spending your time, spending your attention here with me. I want to say, I hope you have a great week. And did you catch the clue? Let me know in the comments if you caught my clue. And if not, the secret will be, the big secret, the big surprise will be revealed next week. I can't wait to share it with you. And on that note, sending you so much love from New York, from Pound Ridge. Ciao.